Hello and welcome back to the Rise and Shine podcast. I'm your host, Haley Jacob, and today we're going to be diving into the book of Samuel, and we're going to talk about God's provision, being a good steward, being open to the Lord, and all that good stuff. So grab your coffee, find your comfiest chair, and let's rise and shine. Okay, guys, I hope that you are having a lovely, lovely Monday, and I hope that you're having a really good summer, whether you're off for the summer or whether you are working as normal. I just hope that you are staying cool and that you're taking time to just have fun and really, honestly, take time to spend time with the Lord no matter what season it is. Okay, so like I said at the top of the episode, we are going to be looking into the book of Samuel. And if you haven't read through the book of Samuel, it's really good. It is chock full of all kinds of stories. This is, of course, Samuel's story, but Saul, David, all of those stories are in the book of Samuel. So we are going to start at the very beginning of Samuel, and we're going to talk about Samuel's mother, Hannah. Now, some of you may know this story. Hannah was barren and could not have children, and she prayed to the Lord, and God provided Samuel. And we're going to talk about that because it's not that she just prayed and then God gave her the son. She was open to the Lord. She was willing to literally give anything for this baby. In fact, she said that if you give me a son, I will dedicate his life to you. She's like, if you give me the son, I will turn around and give him right back to you as a servant to you. He appreciated her dedication so much that he not only blessed her with Samuel, but Samuel, one, grew up to be an amazing prophet, and two, the Lord blessed her with many more kids after that. So she was a good steward with what God gave her. God gave her Samuel first. He gave her one child, and she was such a good steward of taking care of that child, of raising him up to be a godly man, and then also fulfilling what she said and saying, Lord, I will dedicate this child to you, and not trying to keep him like, oh Lord, just kidding. Now that I have him, I don't want to give him up. She was true to what she said, and then the Lord blessed her obedience. So we're going to dive a little, that's just scratching the surface of this story. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into this story. We're going to start with 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 1. Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim Zophim of the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, and Ephraimite. He had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. This man went up from his city yearly to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. Also the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there. And whenever the time came for Elkanah to make an offering, he would give portions to Peninnah, his wife, and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, although the Lord had closed her womb. So already her husband, even though he had 2 wives, her husband loved her still, even though she was barren, even though that she couldn't provide heirs for him. He still loved her. So when he went to sacrifice, he himself, the husband, gave a double portion because he loved her so much. And her rival also provoked her severely to make her miserable because the Lord had closed her womb. So the other wife provoked her. The other wife made fun of her because she wasn't able to do this. So Hannah, even though her husband wasn't holding it against her, the other wife made her feel terrible about that. So imagine like wanting something so badly and wanting and it's not just for you, even for Hannah it was like it wasn't just for her, it was for her husband, and she wasn't able to give what she wanted to give to her husband. And then also somebody's like constantly throwing that in your face. So imagine how Hannah felt. Imagine how desperate she would be for a child. Imagine how desperate she felt, how just down she felt every time this other wife would like throw it in her face. And sometimes we can feel that way. Sometimes we feel like no matter how hard we try, no matter what we do, we just can't seem to either get the thing we want or do the thing that we want or give the thing we want, right? We just can't seem to get it. And then the world, or whether it's the world or whether it's somebody in your family, is like throwing it in your face constantly. Hannah looked to the Lord, and we're going to get there in a second, but Hannah felt that way. Hannah felt like all she could do was look to the Lord. She had no other hope except in the Lord. And when we are in that place, sometimes the Lord brings us to those places where all we can do is trust God. And that's literally all we can do. Whether or not we do it on purpose, sometimes it's like, okay, we're here and I've tried literally everything else. Literally, I've done everything in my power and it still hasn't happened. And so we're at a place where we can do nothing except trust the Lord. And that's where Hannah was. That's where she was. All she could do was pray. So it was year by year when she went up to the house of the Lord that she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. She was so upset by this that she didn't eat. How many of you have been there where something is so upsetting or you're just so distraught that you couldn't eat, you can't sleep, you can't do anything? You can't do anything. And you're just thinking like, Lord, why? Why am I here? Why am I in this place? Why is this happening? Or why isn't this thing happening? Right? And I think the Lord uses those times. I'm not saying he brings those things upon us. The Lord does not cause suffering, but the Lord allows suffering to happen and allows us to go through these things so that we can learn to rely on him, so that we can learn the things we need to learn for the next season of our life. Hannah was learning what she needed to learn. Hannah was in a place she needed to be to hear from the Lord. Sometimes things are so noisy, or the thing we want is just such at the forefront of our mind, and it takes up so much space in our mind that we don't have room to hear the voice of God. We don't have room to hear what he's saying about this situation because we have taken full control of it. So Hannah was weeping. Hannah just needed to be in a place where she could just hear from the Lord. Okay, so verse 8. Then Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? Why is your heart grieved? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? Her husband, I just wanted to point that out, was encouraging. He loved her. He didn't want to see her sad. And he's like, he was encouraging her, you don't have to provide a son for me to love you. And that's honestly, that's how the Lord is too. There's nothing we can do to earn God's love. There's nothing that we can say, do, no book we can write, no song we can sing, no good deed to be done that earns God's love. There is nothing that makes us worthy of God's love except for the fact that God chooses to love us. He loves us no matter what. He loves you because he created you, not for what you can give to him, not for what you can say, not for how much money you have, not for how many kids you have, right? He loves you because he created you. So Hannah arose after they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the tabernacle of the Lord, and she was in bitterness of soul. Have you ever been not just sad, not just mournful, not just upset, but bitterness of soul. That is not a place we really want to be. And sometimes we can let those things cause us to be bitter, to be frustrated with the Lord. It says, and she prayed to the Lord and wept in anguish. It wasn't just pleading. Hannah was at the point where she wasn't just asking God for a child, she was in anguish. She had basically just lost all hope and meaning. It probably felt like to her. It probably felt like her life was just worthless because she couldn't do this thing. And the Lord looks beyond what we can and can't do. The Lord, because all power and glory is His, it's not ours. So we don't have to have the ability to do something because we can only do things through Him. So Hannah was in anguish. Verse 11, then she made a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a male child, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall come upon his head. That is a dedication, basically. If you give me this child, I will dedicate him to you. He will be your servant. You use him as you will. He will not be mine. He will be yours, Lord. And imagine this is something that she wants so, so badly. And imagine getting that thing and then having to turn around and giving it up. But she gave it up for the Lord. She trusted God. She trusted that this child would be better in God's hands than anywhere else, even her own. So she was just making that heartfelt, pure dedication to the Lord. Verse 12, and it happened as she continued praying before the Lord that Eli watched her mouth. Now Hannah spoke in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she was drunk. So he said to her, how long will you be drunk? Put your wine away from you. Eli literally thought this is how anguished she was. Not only was she just because we've seen people pray with their eyes closed and lips moving and you don't hear them, right? Today, that's kind of normal. That's a relatively normal thing. We see people just praying, not using their, just moving their lips, right? But Hannah was in such distress that she wasn't just doing this, Lord, please, blah, 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 it wasn't a calm, quiet prayer. She was in anguish and she was probably weeping and moaning and groaning and just full body sobs on top of moving her lips without voice. That's probably what Eli was seeing at the time. And he's like, what is going on? You're drunk. Go home, right? Verse 15, but Hannah answered and said, no, my Lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Hannah was literally pouring everything she had out to the Lord. That's why she looked drunk. She was just at the feet of the Lord and just exposing her soul to Him, just pouring out her hurt, her pain, because she knew that God could handle it. I believe Hannah was a very, very strong woman. And that probably took, I don't, have any proof of this, but it probably took a whole lot of pain for her to get to that point. And and then she's finally just pouring it all out because Hannah knew that God could handle her pain. She was just at the feet of the Lord in the tabernacle, wailing and sobbing to the Lord, knowing that He has all power, that He could do the thing she wanted Him to do, and that she had to trust Him. And that's all she could do. That's all she could do was weep before Him and be broken before Him and then he can put her back together. Sometimes we have to bring our broken pieces to him and allow ourselves to be broken before the Lord so that he can put us back together. Hannah was completely broken before the Lord. Hannah allowed herself to just fully break and trusted the Lord to put her back together. Verse 16, do not consider your maidservant a wicked woman, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief I have spoken until now. Verse 17, then Eli answered and said, go in peace, and the God of Israel grant your petition, which you have asked of him. Eli said, okay, you poured yourself out, you brought your broken pieces to God, now he's put you back together. He's answered your prayer. Go in peace. Go in peace. If you're struggling with something today and you're bringing your broken pieces before the Lord, go in peace, trusting that God has it. Whether or not he answers it exactly how you want him to answer it, go in peace because you've brought it before the Lord, whatever the situation is, and you've left it there. Now leave it there. Let him handle it and go in peace. And she said, let your maidservant find favor in your sight. So the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no longer sad. She went away and ate, and her face was no longer sad. When we give it to the Lord, when we give whatever struggles, whatever desires to the Lord and just trust him with it, we can walk away no longer carrying the weight of that sadness, no longer carrying the weight of that pain. And it may not mean that things are exactly perfect right away. Hannah didn't just like, okay, there's a baby in her arms right now, right? But she went away no longer sad. And she went and she ate. Okay, verse 19. Then they rose early in the morning and worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to their house in Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. The Lord won't forget you. He won't forget the promise that he's made to you. He does not forget. He remembers you. The Lord remembered Hannah. He remembered the promise that he gave to her. He remembered her dedication to him. He remembered her trust in him. So it came to pass in the process of time that Hannah conceived and bore a son and called his name Samuel, saying, because I have asked for him from the Lord. From the Lord. She asked and the Lord gave her a son. Now the man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer to the Lord the yearly sacrifice and his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, not until the child is weaned, then I will take him, that he may appear before the Lord and remain there forever. So the Lord remembered Hannah, but Hannah also remembered the Lord. Hannah remembered what she said to the Lord. She is faithful. God is faithful, but we can also be faithful to the Lord, right? We can be faithful in our giving, in our worship, in our sacrifice, in our career. We can be faithful to the Lord and say, okay, God, you blessed me with this, and I know that it only comes from you and that you can take it back whenever you want. And if that happens, I trust you. Hannah remembered the Lord, and she is full on planning and full on ready to give that son back to God when the time is right. She's not like wanting to hold on to him like, okay, just kidding, Lord. Like, now that I have him, like, thank you. But I didn't really mean that about dedicating him to you. It was the heat of the moment. I was just really upset. But thank you for giving him to me. But I think I'm going to keep him. No, she was a good steward of what the Lord gave to her. And if you don't know what a steward is, it's like when you have charge over something, when you when you are in charge of something or responsible for something, when you're given something, being a good steward of something is being responsible with what you are given, using it for good and not for evil. For say for a musician, being a good steward of your musical talent, using it to glorify God, using it for good, using it to bless people, using it to create joy and love instead of using it for evil and using it for making like dirty songs or whatever, right? Using it in a good way, using it that furthers the kingdom and not diminishes it. So Elkanah, her husband, said to her, "Do what seems best to you. Wait until you have weaned him. Only let the Lord establish his word." Then the woman stayed and nursed her son until she had weaned him. Now when she had weaned him, she took him up with her with 3 bulls, 1 ephah of flour, and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of the Lord in Shiloh. And the child was young. Then they slaughtered a bull and brought the child to Eli. And she said, "Oh, my Lord, as your soul lives, my Lord, I am the woman who stood by you here praying to the Lord." She's like, "Eli, look, the lady who you thought was drunk, that was me. And you said go because God's answered your prayer. Look, this child is the answer to my prayer." She's so excited. We should be excited when the Lord answers a prayer. We should go and tell people, be a testimony, especially to somebody who has prayed for you for something. Go be a testimony to them. She's like, "Look, Eli, look what God did. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition, which I asked of him. Therefore, I also have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he shall be lent to the Lord." So they worshiped the Lord there. She and Eli were so excited. They worshiped the Lord right then and there. Sometimes when God answers our prayers, we get so caught up in it that we forget to thank him. I'm guilty of that. I don't know if you guys are. I believe everybody's probably guilty of that where we just get so caught up in the blessing that we forget to praise the one who gives all blessings. So just let that be a reminder. No matter what, turn and praise the Lord. Whether if he's given you your prayer request, don't forget to turn back and praise the Lord. If he says no maybe to a prayer request, then turn back and praise the Lord, because that means he's protecting you from something, or he has something bigger planned for you. So just a reminder, don't forget to praise the Lord and thank him for who he is, for his goodness. Hannah didn't forget. Hannah remembered the Lord, and the Lord remembered Hannah. But don't forget to turn back, because he won't forget about you. And I know we're human, but try not to forget about the Lord. Yeah? Okay. So this is Hannah's prayer after that. This is chapter 2. And Hannah prayed and said, "My heart rejoices in the Lord. My horn is exalted in the Lord. I smile at my enemies because I rejoice in your salvation." Hannah was smiling at her enemies because she was so full of joy from the Lord. The joy of the Lord is our strength. The joy of the Lord cannot be squelched. The joy of the Lord can overcome even enemies. She was smiling at her enemies, and they were probably like, "What?" And she's probably talking about the other wife. She was smiling at the wife, and it wasn't like a ha ha ha, like you thought, and I had a baby anyway. No, it was like she was just so full of joy that she was smiling at her enemies. And you never know what that smile can do for your enemy. Smiling at your enemy, one, will confuse them, but two, you never know when that smile to your enemy will show them the joy of the Lord. Maybe when she smiled at the other wife was realized like, oh, it's not a smile out of, "I got you." It's a smile out of true, genuine joy. And maybe that other wife wanted that joy as well and sought out the Lord. Verse 2, no one is holy like the Lord. Ooh, that song. Um, who else is worthy? That song's been stuck in my head, so I love this verse. Yes. Okay. For there is none besides you, nor is there any rock like our God. Ooh, this verse, verse 2 was really good. No one is holy like the Lord. There is no one beside him, no one equal to him. There is no rock as stable and as sturdy as our God. Hannah leaned on the rock in her most desperate time, and he came through for her. Talk no more so very proudly. Let not arrogance come from your mouth. For the Lord is the God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. It's like we've been talking about wisdom a lot, and how the world's wisdom is proud and arrogant, but Hannah knew that this miracle couldn't have happened without God. She wasn't bragging. She wasn't boasting in herself. She was boasting, as Paul would say, boasting in the Lord. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and those who stumbled are girded with strength. She was stumbling and she was girded with strength. Those who were full have hired themselves out for bread, and the hungry have ceased to hunger. Even the barren has borne 7, and she who has many children has become feeble. The Lord kills and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and brings up. The Lord makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the beggar from the ash heap. To set them among the princes, and makes them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. He will guard the feet of his saints, but the wicked shall be silent in darkness. For by strength no man shall prevail. Again, there is no strength on this planet that is more powerful or as powerful as God. There are things that we are called to do by God that we can't do in our own power. Even though we're called to do them by God, we can't do them in our own power. Hannah could not bear a child in her own power. She couldn't. But through God, she was able to do the thing that she desired most, that she felt called to do by God. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken in pieces. From heaven he will thunder against them. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the horns of his anointed. Then Elkanah went to his house at Ramah, but the child ministered to the Lord before Eli the priest. So this child, where Eli was there, thought this lady was drunk. She's like, no, I just really want a child really, really badly. And he's like, God said yes, go in peace, you got it. She comes back, shows Eli the child, and then Eli is the one who ends up taking Samuel under his wing. Isn't that so cool? It like all comes back around. Hannah trusted God, trusted that she had to be a good steward. God gave her this gift, and now she has to give it back. But here, let's read on. Let's skip down go to verse 18. And here's what happened to Hannah after she dedicated Samuel to the Lord. Verse 18, but Samuel ministered before the Lord even as a child, wearing a linen ephod. Moreover, his mother used to make him a little robe and bring it to him year by year when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. She still got to see her child grow up. She made him a robe I'm going to tear up. Every year she made him a robe because she knew that God had great things for him. And had she kept Samuel to herself, she would not only be keeping herself from the blessings of God, but she would be keeping Samuel from his God-given calling. And Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife and say, the Lord give you descendants from this woman, not the other wife, from this woman, for the loan that was given to the Lord. Then they would go to their own home. So Eli saying, you're going to have more kids now because you were so faithful with this one and you were trusting God with this one and you did really good with this one. I'm going to give you more. You're going to have descendants from Hannah, not just Samuel. You're going to have descendants from Hannah. And the Lord visited Hannah so that she conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters. Meanwhile, the child Samuel grew before the Lord. Sometimes when we think God has given us something, given us a calling, given us a ministry, given us a talent, and we're like, okay, cool, I'm rolling with this, I got this. And then all of a sudden, it seems like maybe God's taking that away, whether he's calling you to a different place, if you're a minister or a church, or whatever the case is, you feel like that has been taken from you. Or you feel like maybe God didn't take it, but you feel God asking you to surrender that. And you're like, but Lord, you gave this to me. Why would you call me to surrender this? And it's because he has more for you. He wants to give you even more. He's like, you did great with that. Now I want to take that and then give you something even more so that you can do even more through the Lord. And that's what happened with Hannah. Hannah did great with Samuel. She dedicated him to the Lord and was faithful to that. So God blessed her with even more children. And real quickly, let's learn about Samuel's first prophecy, because this is also a story of hearing from the Lord and being open to what Hannah was open to what the Lord wanted. She was open to just, God, if you give me a son, like I will do whatever you want him to do. He's going to do it. I'm open to you. I'm trusting you. I'm relying on you. Now, let's listen to how Samuel was ready and willing. This is chapter 3. Now the boy Samuel ministered to the Lord before Eli, and the word of the Lord was rare in those days. There was no widespread revelation, and it came to pass at that time, while Eli was laying down in his place, and when his eyes had begun to grow so dim that he could not see, and before the lamp of God went out in the tabernacle of the Lord where the ark of God was. And while Samuel was lying down, that the Lord called Samuel. So again, it's saying the word of the Lord was rare in those days. There were not many people in those days that were willing to hear God's voice, that were willing to put aside their desires, put aside the noise, put aside them trying to work and work and work for the things they have to hear God's voice. But Samuel was ready. The Lord called Samuel, and he answered, "Here I am." He's like, "Here I am." Okay. But he said, "Here I am." He heard an audible voice. He thought it was Eli calling him. So he ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." And he said, "I did not call you. Go lie down again." Eli's, No, I didn't call you. Go lie down, Samuel. Go get some sleep. You're tired." And he went and lay down. Then the Lord called yet again, "Samuel." So Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." He answered, "I did not call, my son. Lie down again." And at this point, Samuel's probably like, what is going on? Eli's getting a little old. He's calling me and not remembering that he's calling me, Sometimes it takes us a little while to get to know the voice of the Lord. And the best way to get to know the voice of the Lord is by reading his word, knowing what he's going to say to us, because God will not go against what his word says. So it's taking Samuel a little bit to realize this is the voice of God. Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, nor was the word of the Lord yet revealed to him. So he didn't even know the Lord yet. And the Lord called Samuel again the third time. So he arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you did call me." Then Eli's finally like, got it. Okay, I know what's going on. Then Eli perceived that the Lord had called the boy. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, "Go, lie down, and it shall be, if he calls you, that you must say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant hears. Samuel was saying, here I am, like, I'm ready, here I am, to his master, to Eli. He was ready to serve. He was ready to do whatever Eli wanted him to do, whatever Eli needed him to do. But Eli said, okay, next time this happens, don't just say like, here I am, but say, speak. I am ready to listen. We need to always be ready to hear the Lord. We need to always have our ears open and be listening for what the Lord has to say. Now that Samuel knew it was God calling him, he knew what to do at that point. He knew to listen for whatever God had said, and he was willing to follow through with whatever God told him to do. Your servant hears. Speak, Lord, your servant hears. So Samuel went to lay down in his place. Now the Lord came and stood and called as at other times, Samuel, Samuel. And Samuel answered, speak, for your servant hears. He followed the instructions of Eli. And I just think that's really important. He was following the instructions of his teacher. We need to follow the instructions of what the Lord has, of the word of the Lord. For us to fully commit ourselves to him, for us to fully walk in his presence, for us to fully dive into our calling, we have to follow the instructions. We have to listen to what his word tells us to do and live in the way that the Lord asks us to live. Then the Lord said to Samuel, behold, I will do something in Israel at which both ears of everyone who hears it will tingle. In that day I will perform against Eli all that I have spoken concerning his house from beginning to end. So a part we skipped, Eli's sons were doing some not great things, and the Lord had some words to say to Eli. So we skipped that over, but that's what he's talking about. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knows, because his sons made themselves vile, and he did not restrain them. And therefore I have sworn to the house of Eli that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be atoned for by sacrifice or offering forever. So Samuel lay down until morning. Can you imagine? The first thing God asks you to do was to deliver this bad news to your mentor. Somebody that's like higher above you, right? And so Samuel lied down and opened the doors of the house of the Lord. And Samuel was afraid to tell Eli the vision. Yeah, I would be too. Then Eli called Samuel and said, Samuel, my son. He said, here I am. Samuel knew what he had to do. Samuel knew Eli was going to ask him, what did the Lord tell you? But he said, here I am anyway. We have to be willing to do the hard things. We have to be willing to step out and do the things that scare us, to do the things that we are afraid to do the things that God has called us to do, and we can only do those things through his strength. We have to be bold. We are not promised an easy life. We are not promised like just a laid back, chill life. We don't ever have to go out and spread the gospel. No, we are called to go and be bold and tell everyone about Jesus and tell everyone about the sacrifice that he made for them, and to tell everyone about sin and how bad it is and that they need to get out of it. And that's scary. Samuel was nervous to tell him, but he still said, here I am. Knowing that that's what was about to happen, he was still ready and willing. And he said, what is the word that the Lord spoke to you? Please do not hide it from me. God do so to you, and more also, if you hide anything from me of all the things that he said to you. Then Samuel told him everything and hid nothing from him. And he said, it is the Lord. Let him do what seems good to him. So Samuel grew, and the Lord was with him, and let none of his words fall to the ground. Samuel was so dedicated to the Lord. Nothing of what he said just fell on empty ears. None of his words fell to the ground. God was faithful to produce fruit in Samuel's labor. And all of Israel from Dan to Beersheba knew that Samuel had been established as a prophet of the Lord. Then the Lord appeared again in Shiloh, for the Lord revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by the word of the Lord. And the word of Samuel came to all Israel. Samuel, first, Hannah was faithful. Hannah brought her broken pieces to the Lord, was faithful to the Lord. The Lord remembered her, but she also remembered the Lord, and she dedicated her life and her son's life and did not hold back. Hannah held nothing back. She gave her first and at the time only child to the Lord, not knowing that he would provide more for her, but trusting that his way was best. And then that child that she dedicated to the Lord spread the word of the Lord to all of Israel, because he also was willing and ready and open and bold to go out and do what God has called him to do. So I want to encourage you today to go out there and give everything you have to the Lord. Pour everything out to the Lord, whether it's pain, whether it's heartbreak, whether it's joy and praise. Give everything you have to the Lord. Worship, praise. Tell the Lord, here I am. Speak, your servant hears. And then be willing and ready to hear what he says, and then go out and be bold and do the thing that he asks of you. Go out, be bold. Now go out there and shine.